Hey everybody, David Anderson here with my friend David Halpern from Mastery Consulting. Happy Monday. I hope everybody's doing well. Today, I don't think we actually have ever done this before. Never done a Facebook Live before. We're here in our office. You can see a line behind us. A couple of plants that are actually real, which is nice. They are real. Today, we want to just introduce everybody in our group to David Halpern. He is a great friend. Met him about a year-ish ago or so.
Yes.
Yeah. And have gone to a bunch of his seminars and classes that he teaches. So, David, why don't you explain to everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, and kind of what your tilt is in terms of your coaching style?
I appreciate that. Hello, everybody. Happy holidays to you all. Look forward to 2019. This time of year is fun, especially for those of us that understood it started November 1st, by the way. So sorry to inform you, but those of you that want to get a jolt of inspiration here, you're already 47 days into the new year as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I'm David Halpern. Pleasure to meet you all. I want to thank David Anderson and Marnie and Ryan and the cast of characters here at LionDesk. And you know, I guess one of the things that I liked about David, if you don't mind me just kind of sharing or bragging on you for a quick sec, is I just enjoy being around serial entrepreneurs, if you will, people that are obsessive about business and building and are itchy about the process of kind of creating and adding value to people. And, you know, I got that from David the first time I met him. And then the first time he attended one of our seminars or coaching events up in Los Angeles and wore his, you know, LionDesk hooded sweatshirt.
We got him one.
Yeah.
So, he has his own hoodie now.
There it is.
No more nice shirts and button-ups. It's all hoodies and T-shirts from here on out, David.
So now I'll unveil this at one of our events so I can actually feel like a techie for a day, right? But you know, it's just a thrill to be around people who are not only, and by the way, a little coaching secret for you all. David just got back from visiting, you know, Loan Depot and Quicken Loans and other places, and he's sort of obsessive about educating himself in business and growing, and there is no other way than to kind of change the people you surround yourself with. So for me, this is, you know, it's about commonalities, kindred spirits, and it's also about learning and growing together and building businesses mutually together. So a long-winded hello.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So tell us about your seminars real quickly, just so you can get a tilt on it. And then I want a question that I'm going to have for you, and right after you tell me about that. Because we're in real estate, the majority of our clients are in real estate as well. You teach people not on scripts, right? You teach people on what? Accountability?
Yeah, so good question. I appreciate that, David. So my background is as a business generalist. My background is not real estate, although the majority of our clients are now in the real estate industry as well. So kind of heavy majority at this point. It's been a bit of a rush the last few years. So my background, here's the pretty version of my background. So I'll give you the viewpoint without warts, and even though we all have our real disasters and debacles and learning lessons and failures in life, but the pretty version of the background, grew up in New York, went to Yale, went to work for an investment bank that acquired Crescent Jewelers out on the West Coast. Was at Crescent for many years, became their chief operating officer at age 31, 32, something like this. And at the time was the world's third largest jewelry company. And after that, left there to lead a database marketing company based in Torrance as the CEO for 5 years. So when I went into kind of the dream of building an entrepreneurial venture, you know, in coaching and consulting, it took a weird left turn into real estate because my brother-in-law was a realtor. So he asked me for help because he was struggling as a realtor in his 8th full year, or 8th year as a full-time realtor back in 2013. And asked me for help, and he asked me for help because I know how to grow businesses. In fact, when the marketing company hired me, it wasn't because of, at the time, marketing expertise. It was because I knew how to grow a business. So for me, I spend all of my time focusing on the levers of business. And to answer your question more directly, David, is I think scripts are full of it, to be honest with you. I think people spend a lot of time walking around in circles practicing scripts. That's ludicrous. The way you build a business is by practicing on potential clients. Get on out there. And by the way, everyone you know and I know and everyone on this call that already has decent or robust results, you got good at it not because somebody was holding your hand and beating you over the head with a 2x4 every 5 minutes. What are you doing? You got good because you had, as I like to say, a work ethic and a cabeza. You figured it out on your own is what I'm trying to say. And that's how all great entrepreneurs kind of do it. although we could use some mentoring and coaching along the way.
Yeah. So we're all entrepreneurs. Everybody, I think everybody else call is you're all running your own businesses, whether or not you know it or not, you are business owners, right? And I think that's part of it is that one of the things I learned from you is, I think you said, stop being a real estate agent, start being a business owner.
Oh, yes. Okay,
Right?
so great concept here. The problem for realtors or sales professionals of any time, of any type is, even for my own coaching practice, when I stopped trying to look the part of a coach and do what I thought coaches were supposed to do, and I started being raw and authentic and saying what I actually believed, even if occasionally it was not confrontational, but if it was not necessarily what the herd or the masses followed, amazing how the business took off. You need to run your business like a business. And the reason you do is, the problem you have is you think like a 1099 sales professional. The gift of that, by the way, is unlimited income, freedom of schedule, and the curse is unlimited income, freedom of schedule. And you could use just a little bit of W-2 corporate structure, as I like to call it. It's sort of translating just the few best practices of the corporate world into your own, entrepreneurial venture. And the more you run it like a business, the greater the sales results spectacularly. So that's the challenge for all of us, is just we need to, the problem is you don't have any people teaching you how to be a business owner.
That's true, right? I mean, there's a lot of, companies like ourselves, right, teach how to use technology. We have you coming on here. We've got other companies that we teach on, but as a business owner, like I told David before we got on the call that I went to go visit LionDesk. They do 800,000 calls a day, right? And they call all of their leads within 4 seconds. I used to think speed to lead was within 5 minutes,
yes.
Right? And so now I'm rethinking the whole thing here in terms of, okay, if they've got 150 people in a call center doing 800,000 calls a day, how can we modify our system so that our clients, agents, brokers, teams, can get to those leads even quicker than they do now? One of them obviously is the text messaging, right? But that first phone call, like I'm thinking, man, how do we do this 4-second thing? And that's all I've been obsessing about over the last 48 hours since I was up there, was what systems can we put in place as a technology company to actually do that, so that, again, you can focus on, and when I say you, I mean agents and brokers can actually focus on building their business, which I think is what a lot of people don't do, right? I think a lot of people are focused on individual pieces, and that's another thing I took away from one of your seminars was we focus on things that we like, not necessarily things that we should be doing, but you got to find a match of both of them.
Yes.
And then offload what you don't like onto somebody else, right?
Yes. So good being the enemy of great in business. And let's touch on that one. Peter Drucker was considered the father of modern management before he passed away, and he wrote this big voluminous thing called Management that I don't recommend. It's a little bit dry, but it's good stuff. But Drucker, one of his best quotes was, "Do what you do best and outsource the rest." And what that implies is that we should stick to our area of core competency. Like one of the things I noticed, if you don't mind me sharing, David, even right here in our 1 hour we spent or whatever it is here in LionDesk's headquarters, is he's got somebody else who's actually also running the business, the infrastructure and the administration. He's got somebody else, Marnie, who's right here in the room, leading marketing, and Ryan leading sales and sales development. So even for myself, Rosalind, who's in the room with us over here, runs the business side of the business. And what we need here we need to basically stay in our area of core competency. My perception, even David, from you, even just having met you, even way back when we met, was not just a technologist, but also a strategist and a good thinker about higher level solutions. If you don't mind me sharing, so you need to get things off your plate, and the average sales professional spends 35% of their time actually interacting and engaging with clients. And for most of you as you know, that are in this LionDesk group, it's far worse. Sorry to disappoint. And when David mentioned something about how LoanDepot is trying to get to a lead within 4 seconds, and we used to teach the 5-minute rule. The 5-minute rule, by the way, is if you get to a lead within 5 minutes of it coming in, your ultimate close rate on it is more than 800% higher. So basically, if you don't get to leads quickly, just take a wad of $100 bills and set them on fire because you're killing yourself. And what David's suggesting is even crazier than that, yet more than 50% of sales professionals in America do not get to a lead until 2 days or more after the lead comes in. So even what we're talking about here, the reason you want to be around business owners and entrepreneurial thinkers is because they will change the way you think about your business. And until your thinking changes, there'll be no implementation, or sort of the mousetrap won't change to get the results moving.
I agree. I agree. And I think you hit the nail on the head. So you're starting a business, it's just you, right? Or just me. And then we do something until the point where we have either enough clients or we can't get it done what we need to get done. And that's when we bring on other people. Right? And I think that's a mind shift, because we all want to do something. I've got one of my best friends out there who runs a great brokerage, and he's building his business. And we talk every single day, right? And he's building his business not because he's doing everything, but because he's found other great people to help him do it for. And he's running a brokerage, and he's gone from one person last year. I think they've got like 25 people now on the team, right? So, and that's part of it. So, and then the other part, we actually had the conversation this weekend about, this shift that's being, touted all over the place, right? And I know you have some very distinct thoughts on that shift, yeah. Right? Tell everybody what you think about this shift, because I know they're getting 99% of the communication from everybody else of this is what you have to do, and here's the shift, and beware. What do you think about it?
So I'm going to apologize in advance for my bad language to the entire LionDesk community here, but I'm not a fan of the bull shift, okay? I think the reality is there were a whole lot of people that were going to shut down for the holidays anyway and let their work ethic slide, and now the shift is just another kind of excuse for that. Let me share with you why I'm so strongly opinionated about this, and this is not just because I'm a business coach. Remember, I'm a business builder as well, and the majority of my business comes from the real estate niche, and yet we literally this month are on pace for a record for our own business, the growth of our own coaching and mentoring business, okay? Within this niche that supposedly has a shift. So it is really all about your mindset about it. But let me get to the practical matter here. About 2 months ago, there was a Wall Street Journal front cover article called "The Real Estate Decline Deepens." And the whole thing was negative, negative, negative. Whenever I see that, I kind of think back to Warren Buffett's old quotes about, when the tide's rising, it carries all ships, but when the tide's going out, then you really see who's swimming naked, okay? And it reminded me of when I see all of the negativity in the newspapers, you're getting closer to a time to buy, not sell, which is a whole other story. But in the article, which was negative, 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 bash industry, decline, there were 4 facts in the entire article, only 4 facts and figures. You ready? Here they are. Number 1. The real estate market was down 4.1% versus the same month prior year. Statistic fact number 2, Wall Street Journal article. The real estate prices are up 50% over 2012. Fact number 3, U.S. economy on pace for 4.2% GDP, gross domestic product growth, which is stunning for an economy the size of the world's largest and wealthiest country in history. And fact number 4, unemployment rate 3.9%, lowest since 1969. I'm an outside business generalist. That has always been my lenses, even within the real estate niche. So my question for all of you that are watching this is, when you hear those 4 facts and figures, are you in or out of real estate? And my answer as an outside generalist is I'm in. And then I had somebody in the Inland Empire say, yeah, but our market's worse. It was down 11%. I said, holy crap. You know what that means? You're in trouble. You better go get a real job now. Why? Because your 24 transactions this year might go down to 22. Better shut the doors. So everybody in this room or on this kind of call understand that, you really do. I wouldn't say none of us has control over everything in our business. We can't manifest results, but we can certainly intention activities and progress. So.
That was a good little tidbit. So I think when everybody hears the word, oh my God, the shift is coming, we should be scared, what you're saying is, statistically, are things slowing down? Maybe. Is the economy growing as fast as it has in the last 20 years? Yeah, right? Did housing prices go up a lot and then maybe slow down a little bit? Sure. And like you said, you go down from 25 to 22 transactions? Maybe, but on the other hand, there's a lot of companies that I'm looking at that are growing, like you said, like they're having a great end of the year.
Yes.
Right? A really good end of the year is because they're putting the time and effort into it. And while everybody else, in my opinion, who's going to be worried, who's going to hunker down, those that actually expand their business are the ones that are going to come out on top. And the same thing happened to us. I mean, I was in the travel business, for those of you who don't know, for 12, 13 years. And we went through 9/11. And I remember showing up at the office that morning and there were no phone calls. Things were just gone, right? I mean, talk about a shift. We were wondering, sitting around as an executive team, what in the world do we do next? And we didn't say, okay, hold on, let's just hunker in the corner. Like we said, okay, what opportunities do we have where we can come out on top? And over the course of the next several years, we became one of the largest companies in the US. And it's mindset, and I think it's huge. I mean, you teach that all the time. Like, mindset is what gets us to the next step. And by listening and learning from people who have been there, who have had the experience, that's how you can actually grow your business instead of just, you know, sitting back and reading some articles and saying like, oh no, things are going to get bad, right? I mean, it really is, you know, 100% in attitude.
A little recommendation too. This is where you guys come in with the LionDesk product. Even prior to getting involved with real estate agents, you know, our background, I had run a database marketing company, so I understood the power of database, and most agents do not. All of you do. You wouldn't be on this call and trying to absorb the information of how we can take, you know, let's say LionDesk as a CRM and go to the next level with it. But just an FYI, we're probably one of his biggest users. We're doing 20,000 texts a month on LionDesk. I'm using LionDesk for my coaching business. Why? Because it doesn't mean we have to use the templates for realtors. We can kind of apply our own. But I mentioned database because it really is one of your antidotes to downturn. Whether it's, you know, and I'm just talking to the real estate professionals on this now, whether it's, you know, your concerns and threats from technologies like the Purple Bricks of the world and the Zillows of the world and everything else that's going on out there. The reality of it is your database, most business is still based on relationship. And the problem is the number one source of business in the world by far is database marketing. The number one source is your database, meaning referrals, past client circle of influence. I'm assuming that's the case for 2/3 of the people literally that are watching this right now, this interview. And if that's the case, the problem is you're not doing anything with intentionality to market to those people. And the reason you're not is you're hearing, you know, I did 18 deals last year and 15 came from referrals. So you choose not to market to that group thinking I'm already getting my business out of there. I've got to go find some other mousetraps, when the truth of the matter is the number one lesson I learned in marketing is you do more of what's already currently working. And if that's your number one source, then that speaks beautifully of you that's kind of watching this. That means that you build those types of relationships and connections with people where they want to do business with you. If you were intentional about keeping in touch with them, you would do a lot more business. And the last quote I'll throw at you on this topic is, if you're not constantly keeping in touch with your people, you are literally saying to them loud and clear, I don't care about you. And that could be detrimental to your business.
So question for you then. Intentionality and consistency, right? So what are some things that you can tell the group in terms of how consistent, and I know your answer on this next one, but I want them to hear is, yes, what should you be saying, right? And then how do they actually make that intentional? So for me, my motivation is pretty self-motivated. I can get up in the morning, as soon as I open my eyes, I'm up, I'm downstairs, I'm thinking, I have my routine in the morning where I can get things done, set aside, and then I come in here and we know exactly what we're going to do. But for a lot of people, I know it's not like that, right? So how do you get something, how do you become first intentional at something, right? Do you do it over and over again? And then once you do that, what are some of the things they can do to be consistent? Because LionDesk is a database marketing company. That's where we are, right? CRM platform. So how can they leverage their contacts so that they don't drive by their neighbor's house and see that open house somewhere, right? Yes. So what are some things that you can teach about that?
Okay, so let's talk about sort of strategy or sort of quantity of touches and quality, that general topic briefly, but then also about the topic of accountability, because I'm going to argue very few of you will execute with with what you need to execute if you don't have somebody walking the journey with you. And I know I'm biased. I'm a business coach for a living. I get that. But the truth of the matter is I'm a business coach who believes in business coaching, and I've spent more money on business coaching than probably almost everybody on this call combined, literally. Okay, so you cannot walk the journey alone. Let me start with 20,000-foot view on what I like to call the 3 pillars of success in business. And I know this sounds like a pithy little 3 rules to do something like that. I don't usually do that stuff, but this is kind of important. So let's start there, and then I'll get into a recommendation maybe on using LionDesk or what to do with database, okay? 3 pillars of success in business. Number 1 is you have to know what you want. And it is startling to me how 99% of people on this that are watching this interview do not know what you want for next year. And what I mean that is, if you travel with me from office to office, we have an accountability program that I may share with you on this, but we have a goal. We want to get to 1,000 people in that accountability program, and I say it everywhere I go. So my own clients, if I took you in an office with my clients and I asked my clients, hey, by the way, can you tell this guest can you tell David what's my goal? Half of the people I coach will tell him David wants to get to 1,000 in the accountability program. And if I take you and go visit your friends, your family members, your past client, your circle of influence, your neighbors, your church friends, whatever, and ask them what's your goal, they have no idea, and that's because you have no idea. Step number one is we have to define measurably what are our objectives here. So, for example, in my own coaching business, not that this is about my business, but just to use it as an example, because, by the way, I tell people, and I'm about to get myself in trouble with your entire community here, but I tell people, why would you be in real estate and hire a real estate coach who quit real estate to do coaching? I don't quite get that one, but for me, I'm a business coach, and what that means to me, this is going to sound a little weird, but I believe my job description is to build my business faster than my clients build their businesses. Because people don't do what people say, people do what people see. So what I'm about to share with you is what I do, if that makes sense. So, and I tell people, look, I'm warts and all, and we make our mistakes and all that, but we were moving and we're growing like this gentleman, okay, and his organization. So that's what I admire. So know what you want is crucial. In our business, we have 3 products. We do in-person coaching. We do an accountability program, which I know we've shared with members of your community. We have a higher level advanced board of directors, which I do in my own home with small groups of higher level entrepreneurs and business owners. Now listen to me carefully. For the board at my house, we have 2 groups of 12. We want it to be 4 groups of 12, so our goal is 48. Everybody here just heard the number. With our accountability program, we want to get to 1,000. As of this morning, we're 319, okay? And David heard when we were at 100 or whatever it was way back, right? We're moving. Yeah. And then our 3rd product is in-person coaching, and we have 60 in-person coaching time slots. And right now, as weird as this sounds, we're actually at 66 as of today, so we're a little overflowing, which is great, okay? What's our goal? To keep it at 60. That's it. So you now know my objectives for business, which my wife knows, my client knows, and they'll all say the 1,000 first, because that's what I talk about the most. What is your goal? Second pillar of success. Second pillar. Know what you want is number 1. By the way, let's talk database marketing on that one as an example. What do you want in database marketing is also crucially important. Do you want, 2 texts a month plus 1 email plus 3 videos plus a gift giving every quarter? And it has to be in writing and it has to be verbalized everywhere and everybody has to know it because that's your accountability. Number 2, so you have to have a documented program for marketing, which, by the way, you could lock yourself up in a room and design it with a couple people in 3 hours. Maybe David will get somebody, you have a few people through your grapevine that could even share some recommendations on that. There you go. Sorry, Marty, you'll be drowning now with emails. But know what you want. It's got to be specific. It's got to be written. It's got to be verbalized and specific. The second is you've got to have accountability, but you don't know what accountability is, and that's your problem. You think because of the paradigm in your industry and the way it's taught that accountability is somebody whacking you on the head with a 2x4 every day. Why aren't you doing what you're doing? You're not like Dave, who's a self-starter, so you need to be whacked in the head. That's not accountability. In fact, that does not change behavior or performance. How many times you've been to the seminar in Vegas, you come back 3 months later, you still ain't freaking door knocking because you still hate it. And it doesn't matter who's on the phone with you. Accountability is nothing more than a dialogue. Coaching is conversation. About what? About what you want. How frequently? Constantly. There are 3 forms of great accountability for a higher level institution. And I know, even having worked with Fortune 500 companies in the consulting role. Number 1, there's daily accountability. Daily accountability means what you want, let's use my example, 1,000 people in the accountability program is discussed daily. Now we do it by text through LionDesk, right? Rosalind, who's sitting in this room with Dave and I, actually is in charge of that and texts me every day her numbers. So the 319 number I know because she texted it to me just a couple hours ago this morning, right? And by the way, that text is accountability. I reply back to the text always, whether it's a smiley face emoji or a comment or no comment, right? But that's accountability is nothing more than continuously talking about what you want. And you need to have that on a daily basis. The second version is the weekly meeting, which is the bread and butter of corporate America and Fortune 500 companies. And we could get into that at some point. What is the classic structure of a weekly meeting and how are they most effective and what type of people do you need in the room to keep people engaged? Because I know a lot of you have started your own masterminds, for example, in your offices, and then they fall apart after a few weeks. That's because nobody knows how to run a group. But the weekly meeting is the bread and butter of corporate America, and you're lacking that in your industry in most offices. And the third type of accountability is the monthly version, which is higher level strategic, usually with some business owners at a higher level off-site. So that's a 20,000 foot view bullet point, but you know, LionDesk fits into this because if you're intentional about your marketing, you have documented what and when gets done for the whole year in advance. You might get that done in literally in a couple of hours in a room with a couple of friends, and you're done with your marketing plan for the whole year. And then you keep a checklist with people to literally track, was it done, was it not done? Okay, great, let's make up for it, that kind of stuff. And that's accountability. Accountability is nothing more than looking at visual checklists. So in our own organization, I have people that are working with us in administration in my business, and they do all of their work on shared Excel, Google Docs, or online, because then I can visually see it, and you know, we can literally see all the work that's being done constantly and have metrics being updated. So that's a running dialogue of accountability. I even have administrators texting me numbers on a daily basis because you can measure anything, and I reply back to that, so they feel like they're engaged in a daily chase. And it changes your urgency as an organization. And it's the types of stuff we're talking about right now is just to give you a flavor for the way entrepreneurs and business owners think. And the more those of you that are watching this, you know, sort of engage yourselves or immerse yourselves in business thinkers like that, the more it's going to spark. I don't know what light bulbs are going to go off for you, but it's going to spark tremendous change in your daily activities or habits. That's the only way you can change your results.
Goals, because I want to make sure everybody got it, right? Because it was big. Goals. Know what you want, right? Number one. If you don't know what you want, then you don't know where you're going,
yes.
Right? You have no idea where you're going. Number two is accountability,
yes.
Right? And so accountability is daily accountability, talking about what you want with other people, right? And then the third one is
accountability includes the daily, weekly, monthly.
Weekly, monthly.
Ideally, it's all three if you're really serious. And the third piece is execution. It's the last pillar of success. So in other words, now you have to go and actually implement and take the actions on the daily, weekly, monthly basis to make the business move. And I have a weird philosophy about this, which is if you know what you want, and there's accountability, the daily, weekly, monthly pieces, right? And those are the things that I do for a living, but those are the things that really drive a business. The execution is automatic. It happens. How about this one for you? Here's a weird punchline for you, David, that you might find fascinating. You think, most of you watching this, that your problem is you're not doing the things you know you need to do. And you're wrong. That is not your problem. 19% of professionals in America, let me explain it differently. 19% of revenue stalls. In other words, when you've plateaued, how many of you have gotten to a point where in the last couple of years you're within a range of production, you can't seem to break out of it and you're frustrated by that, right? That's revenue stall, right? 19% of revenue stalls are caused by poor execution. Only 1 out of 5 of you, your problem is you're not doing the things that you know you need to do. For 4 out of 5 of you, 81%, you know what the problem is? The problem is not that you're not executing. The problem is poor decision making regarding strategy. In other words, you were screwed before you got started. You chose the wrong things to do with your time and with your money. And I'm telling you right now, I can say this because I'm in the offices of a terrific CRM for database marketing, but also because I'm a strong proponent of database marketing in our own business. Our number one source of business is our database. And we use LionDesk texting to kind of extreme effect, right? But the reality of it is, if you're not prioritizing building a database and adding to it daily and doing the activities and keeping in contact frequently with people, then you're choosing poorly before you even started your business. My brother-in-law, for example, he had only 6 transactions back in 2013 when he asked me for help. 4 came from referrals and past clients, that's database. 2 came from open houses, and he was spending 75% of his time door knocking. Everybody follow? He was kind of screwed, if you're pardon my language, before he got started because he chose poorly. You guys need to choose. Follow the clues. Success leaves clues, Tony Robbins has a tendency of saying. And if you got 12 deals from referrals and past client circle of influence and you did 16 transactions total, shouldn't 3/4 of your time and 3/4 of your money invested in your business be database? And you know, when people ask me how frequently, and I know some people are in the Keller Williams system where Gary Keller says 1,920 leads in your database, 2,000, let's call it, touch them 33 times a year, 3 times a month. I think that's ludicrous. I think it's way more than that. I believe there are, you know, those of you in the accountability community, I'm touching you daily. There's a realtor who I work with in LA who said, Dave, I'm sorry, I plagiarized one of your ideas. And I'm like, oh, that's great because all of mine are plagiarized too. And he said, look, I reached out to everyone in my database and I asked them all, hey, I'm already sending inspirational messages every morning to my nieces and nephews and family members. Would you mind terribly? I was just thinking about you, thought you might enjoy them. Would you like me to also include you on those? She is now up to over 100 people, and she has them on a LionDesk list as being her higher priorities. Consider what she's done. She has gotten the permission of 100 people in her database to market to them daily. How brilliant is that? Now, most of the stuff's just going to be inspiration, but that does not mean that she can't occasionally throw in a testimonial video with a client or comments about her business, etc. And I think you all know where that goes.
This is so good. I love it. This is why, like I said, first time we've actually done this where it's been in-house here. And I've been to 2 or 3 of your seminars before, and he's good, guys. So again, goals, accountability, execution. I was just up in Vancouver with our dev team talking about all these ideas that we have for next year. And I said, ideas without execution is nothing but a dream, right? And so you got to have the execution in order to get everything done, because you can write the goals down, you can be accountable, but then you actually got to do it.
Yes.
Right. And if somebody is like makes you do it, like we have Gabrielle in here, who many of you don't know, but she runs the whole organization basically. She keeps me accountable every single day on what I have to do, and so does Marnie for sure. So now I've got 2 people keeping me accountable, and we just get stuff done. We wouldn't have been able to do this without Marnie and Jessica, so thank you guys. Leads. You mentioned briefly about if you're doing 12 out of 15 of your contacts are coming from your database. One of the questions that we get all the time at LionDesk is, where should I get my leads? What else is out there? What's new? You know, where should I be fishing that nobody else is? What are your thoughts on that, Dave? Because I know that, you know, as a tech company, I know most of these other tech companies, many of them are very, very good, but I think that as a business owner, like even us, like we're out there trying to figure out, you know, where are we going to get more leads? When a lot of it for us is referral. So it's very basic for us, yeah. Right? It's a referral. That's how we grew our whole company. But what do you tell business owners and agents and brokers when they say, where should I spend my money?
Yes. Where do I get leads?
Where do I get leads?
Let's tackle that one first, and then where do I spend my money? Yeah. Where do I get leads? And I think there's also kind of a bit of a weird paradigm in this industry about, you know, that leads are, we have to, you know, door knock and cold call. That's been in the industry for 30 years. And I'm not bashing door knocking and cold calling entirely. But I will say this, the 10 top producers that I work with that are in the high 6-figure, low 7-figure range GCI in this industry, 0 of them door knock and 1 cold calls. So I'm not saying don't do those. In fact, if I have a private client who's really good at one of those, I will literally work on them to do more of that, because you should be doing more of what's already working. So a couple of quick hits. This is going to be 20,000-foot view on leads. Number 1, there are lead sources that are already working for you. You got to get more of those. But let's keep this simple. When people say, how do I get leads? My answer is just freaking get them. I know this sounds ridiculous, but one of the things that I do every day is I'm collecting business cards everywhere I go. And when I go to people, I'll see somebody I don't know, and I'll hand them my business card and say, do you have a business card? And I'll wait for their business card. And that's it. And by the way, I don't say anything. They're going in my database. I think I just violated some kind of opt-in rule here. But whenever anybody says, take me out of the database, I take them out of the database. Look, there's a realtor that I privately coach who says, Dave, I'm the class mom for my daughter. Uh-huh. And I have a list with like 400 parents' names and phone numbers and emails. Uh-huh. I should be marketing to them. Uh-huh. So if you want to do it more appropriately than what I just shared with you, for Pete's sakes, just go to them and say, hi, Sue. You know, would you mind? I got your email and phone number. I'd love to keep in touch with you. That would be the language that I would use. Okay. Now you're saying we're realtors, real estate professionals. We don't get necessarily business cards from people. I don't care. For Pete's sakes, everywhere you go all day long, you should be asking people, hey, Sue, can I get your phone number and your email? I'd love to keep in touch with you more. You put them in the database, you start marketing to them. And by the way, the best marketing is not all about business anyway. So you won't scare them out of your database, if you will. You're communicating with them like friends. So the first step in getting leads is get them. And stop thinking even the paid lead sources. First priority is getting them everywhere you go. Because we have something like 7,000 leads right now in LionDesk, okay? 5 years ago, I had 1 of those leads, my brother-in-law. I didn't know a single person in this entire universe. So how did it build? Are you ready? Here's the math. Every day I try to get 5 business cards. That's it. Some days I'll do an event and get 40. Some days I'll do an event and get 200. There are other days where I goose egg it, right? I came home on last Thursday with 1 card. Kind of a crappy day when it came to business cards. The day before that, I had an event. I had like 30 of them, okay? But even if you take holidays and weekends off, and there are 260 or so business days in a year, times 5 cards, that's 1,300. And in 4 years, you're at 5,000. And by the way, not only do we put our leads in LionDesk, I believe that every social media channel is a CRM in and of itself. So we actually pride ourselves on using 5 CRMs. Are you ready to hear what Dave's competitors are for LionDesk? Facebook. Yeah, write it down. Facebook is a CRM. You can put leads in there and message them aggressively, and people don't get offended. And you can also send them private messages, sort of like texting through Facebook Messenger. Your Facebook business page also is a CRM. Instagram's a great CRM where you can direct message people also and put content. LinkedIn is a CRM, etc. So we want to get leads. When we get leads in 4 years, even if you're just getting 5 cards for free from people that you know, and you're putting them in duplicate databases, if you will, you now have, we have 25,000 between the 5 databases, so we can send messages on a daily basis, which we might get to in this conversation or another one, to book appointments where we're creating our own inbound leads through LionDesk, and we are like our own mini version of Zillow, if you will, right? Now, if you're talking about the online lead sources, I'm going to tell you right now, there are a lot of good ones out there. Zillow's fine, although there's more complaints than there used to be. Realtor.com has been the most consistent, successful one for the people I privately coach, and I have data on a lot of folks over the last couple of years. But you've got all the others out there, the OpCities of the world, and and other sources. I don't care which one you use. What I care about is 2 things. Number one, that you understand how online leads work. You've got to get to the leads. I used to say 5 minutes. Now I'm wondering if I should say 8 seconds. As Dave was sharing, 4 seconds, right, is what Loan Depot's doing. You got to get to them quickly. And here's my magic number 2. Are you ready? This is crucial. The purpose of a lead is to get to a face-to-face appointment. There is no other purpose to a lead. So when you're talking to the lead, stop selling, for Pete's sakes, and book an appointment the same day or the next day or the day after to meet them in person. And the longer you spend on the call, the more likelihood you're going to talk, the more likely it is that you're talking them out of meeting. You can't sell a lead.
The longer you spend on the call, the more likely you're into talking them out of meeting.
Okay, I should probably explain that a little more.
Let's hear it.
Let's explain that a little more. So you need to spend some time to build relationship and get to the meat and the substance. So I'm not saying rush them off the phone. What I am saying is be careful not to do your whole sales pitch on the phone call. You cannot sell a lead. There's nobody on this call, I shouldn't say nobody, maybe if it was referral based, but it's very, very rare that you talk to a cold lead. We're talking cold leads, online leads now, and they can't sign a listing agreement with you over the phone, okay? So the reality of it is, what is the purpose of a lead? So here's your sales funnel. If you're gonna Google sales funnel and see the sort of inverted cylinder or triangle or whatever, get leads is step 1. Content to build community is step 2, which is all your communications through LionDesk and social media. And step number 3 is sending invites on a daily basis to book appointments. Now, but if you're handling online leads, back to online leads, I'm sorry, I'm going in a few directions. You got to get to them quickly, and the purpose of the call is to book a face-to-face within 48 hours. If you book an appointment by the way, if it's 48 hours or less, the show-up rate is more than 80%. The cancel rate or no-show rate is less than 20. If you book an appointment for more than a week out, the show-up rate is less than 50%. Just take a wad of $100 bills and set it on fire. That's kind of what you're doing, right? But you got to book the appointment. Now, if somebody's out of town, obviously you have to book for next week, if this makes sense.
It does make sense. So you get them on the phone, you get a lead, you call them within 4 seconds. Obviously not very feasible for most people, but as quickly as you can. And then you're talking to the client. The longer you talk, if you're talking for 30 minutes, you're probably saying too much. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I probably want to qualify what I'm saying, because I'm going to say something that's going to sound like it's coming out of the other side of my mouth. So in retail jewelry many years ago, I learned that the longer the sale, the bigger the sale. And this industry, your industry, teaches the opposite. Your industry says, get into a listing appointment, get out of there in 30 minutes. Somebody teaches that and literally don't even keep up with them, and who cares about database, which is ludicrous. The longer the sale, the bigger the sale for relationship building. But remember, it's best done in person.
That's an appointment. It's an appointment. And that's what I think that a lot of agents and just salespeople in general, and even
other staffs that I've run as well. You get them on the phone and they just talk, and we're guilty of it too. I mean, we're selling all of the features and benefits when really the only thing they want to hear is, can I text my clients, right? And so I think, as from a salesperson's perspective, it's listen. I think a lot of people aren't listening. They're talking too much on the phone. They're trying to sell too much,
yes,
right? And then ask for the appointment. And you said 48 hours is 80%. Same day is obviously the best.
Yes.
Right? Are you available right now?
Which is also contrary to what most of what's taught here in this industry. It's awkward to ask somebody for an appointment the same day, but let's say you're at an open house, for instance. You're at an open house and somebody's interested and hot. You should be meeting with them that day. Yeah. In some cases, if appropriate, close the open house for Pete's sakes and go on the appointment. What was the purpose of the open house in the first place? So we need to understand that everything, including LionDesk, is designed for appointments. That is the whole purpose of everything.
Yeah. And sales tactic wise, another one is, I'm going to be in your area anyways.
Why don't we just go ahead and meet in an hour, right? I mean, that's one of the things that I've taught some salespeople in the past of, oh, I'm going to be in Arizona next week. No problem. I can come by your office. And were they going to be in Arizona? It doesn't really matter because they can be, right? And I think that's part of it. And so this is good stuff. I mean, we're getting a lot of comments here. Somebody said, Sharon, I have a coach now and I want to switch to David Halpern. Smiley face. So what other things did you want to touch on?
Oh, gosh.
We have a question.
Questions? Okay,
we have
good.
questions from the group.
What quality?
Okay, great.
So let's
question.
repeat the question. So
Yes.
what qualities should someone choose when they're looking for an accountability partner? I'll let you
Okay,
take
so
that one.
let me answer the question by saying, what qualities do most people select when they have been selecting their accountability partner? Let me tell you the greatest mistake you can make. The greatest mistake you can make is getting a buddy of yours to be the accountability partner who's just as undisciplined as you are. Okay, I know it sounds ridiculous, but the whole point is you want to have somebody as an accountability partner who is, I don't know if OCD is the right word, Dave, or whatever, but you want somebody who's going to be, who's going to raise your game for sure, who's going to be a kind of a bigger picture thinker, if that makes sense, or executor in terms of business. Look, Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, you may want to look up a lot of his stuff online. Many of you know him already anyway, who was the mentor to people like Tony Robbins and John Maxwell and Les Brown and a peer of Zig Ziglar's. His famous quote about you are the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with the most. So why not try to find an accountability partner who actually would help you step up your game? At the very least, find somebody who is driven. But again, one of the challenges you have is, it's just like when you try to set up a mastermind group in your office and it dissipates after a couple of weeks. It's because you don't have somebody who knows how to run those meetings. So it'd be easy for me to say, because I'm all biased, go hire a coach to do this stuff. But you do want somebody who knows how to lead this stuff. It's no different from any other form of delegation, right? If you're going to delegate accountability partner, delegate where there's competence and excellence, right?
Yeah, so my answer would be just
Okay.
Yeah. What other questions do we have?
Oh, yeah, 2019.
2019.
What do they need to know?
What do
We
you
kind of covered a lot of that.
what do you need to know in 2019?
Yeah, what do you see, Dave, in 2019?
It's interesting. So I also hear from you, from everybody else, right? Hey, things are going to slow down and this and that. But again, I know what that's like. Again, being from the travel industry, being from the real estate industry as well. I've got a family in real estate. And for us, our business, just so everybody understands, like, we're growing. We're moving out of our office space in here into a new office space, about 10,000 square feet. We've got 2,700 square feet in here. Maybe we can tilt it over when we're done here so everybody can see everybody all huddled up in corners, standing desks about this far apart.
The LionDesk sardines.
The sardines,
Lions and the sardines.
Yeah, that's it. So for us, the focus that I come into work every day and every week is like, okay, what do we need to do this week so we can hit our goals this month, so that we can hit the quarterly, so we can hit the end, right? And like you said, it's a flow, and there's ups and downs with everything. But the biggest thing that I want to do in 2019 is continuing to learn from other people, because it's easy for us to just sit back with our own group or stare at Facebook groups, where you're getting advice from everybody on left and right on what to do, or what's the shiny object, or, what do you think is going to happen? Oh no, I'm all scared. I still think the economy is going to do great, right? There's nothing new that stock market has ups and downs, right? And economies go up and down. I don't see this massive crash. I think everybody needs to focus on like what you said, David, which is you have your group of people that you can communicate with, and you're probably not even communicating with them.
Yes.
You know, I mean, and that's the biggest thing is like, and we don't do a great job at it either, although now that Marty's in charge, we're doing a great job. We just didn't, of communicating to the clients so that they know who we are and essentially like what tools LionDesk can offer you. And we've got a lot coming in Q1, and I don't want to go on this call. Marty is going to set something up here. I think we're going to talk about the Q1 stuff later. But the focus just really needs to be, like you said, set your goals, have things that you can measure, right? Like your KPIs, key performance indicators. If you don't have things that you can write down, then how in the world are you going to build your business? Because you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you need to go. Every single one of our department heads has their own KPIs, right? I mean, you have to have them all the way down to the salesperson or the support team. So everybody has to set their goals for 2019. We've got 14 days left, plus or minus, right? My math is okay. But getting that stuff in place immediately is going to help everybody, in my opinion. And then moving forward from there, learning, you know, and not just picking up random books that are recommended to you, which is fine, but learning from people that are successful. Like you said, talking to people who are in your sphere. Like I talk to my friends all the time and they're successful. The guy that ran his brokerage from 1 to 25, right? I talk to my dad who's built a gigantic company on a daily basis, right? It's like getting those people in your mindset, talking to David all the time too. And just building from there. I mean, don't think you could build everything in a day or a week or a year. I mean, it's a grind. I was telling David before he walked in here, you should have seen what I looked like a couple years ago. I was much fresher, younger looking man. Right? But it's fun. And then the third thing is have fun, right? I mean, you got to have fun at what you're doing. So what do you think? So goals, where should they focus 2019?
For 2019, I think I just did an event at a kind of large office, Remax offices up in LA, where the topic was, what do business owners do in December? And this is my sense of humor, so please forgive. I apologize for this also in advance. But I walk into the office, and the first thing I say, well, business owners do in December exactly what they do in January, February. Okay, let's get into another topic. You know, the reality is this industry does such a mental shutdown during the holidays. You know, I came from retail way back when, where I thought, I hope someday I get out of retail because we're working ding to dong, as we called it, 18-hour days, 16-hour, 14-hour days, from 7 in the morning to 11 at night the last week, and no days off, Thanksgiving to Christmas, because it's 36% of year-round of annual sales in that 25-day period. And then I get to this industry where it's like meltdown city, right? Business owners love their businesses, and it's their babies, and they can't get enough of it. It doesn't matter if it's December. But if you're asking me for a specific roadmap, it'd be the same roadmap that I'd share, because 2019, I think there's going to be more haves and more have-nots, little incrementally, not dramatic, but incrementally, where you're already seeing a race to quality now, where I think even clients are running to the realtors that know what they're doing. And I don't mean that to scare anybody out there. I just mean to say that you need to get better at your craft. People that take the game of education and learning, as Dave was talking about, seriously grow. I have a board of directors. And what I mean by that is Rosalind and I meet with an outside team of people who have nothing to do with real estate or coaching. And I literally share with them my business plan, and they're in varied professions. And so I practice what I preach. I eat my own cooking without throwing up, if you will, right? Now, that's so important because one of the products we even do is we get people together in boards at they come to my house, so it's more intimate. And it's not just real estate folks, it's a mixture. So we've got a board right now that has, for example, in it, the founder of a private high school. We have in the board a guy who owns a flooring company for 45 years and is a wealthy Santa Barbara dude. We have a married couple that owns a software company for 30 years from Signal Hill. We have a mom-son team. The son's 20 years old, was the drummer in the movie I Can Only Imagine, and he gets invites to travel the country, play drums, and in his case, show movie clips and evangelize, and the mom's a business manager, and she attends our meetings. We have people in all kinds of different professions mixed in. We have a Hollywood producer in one of our groups who just landed an interesting project. But it's important because then if we change our thing, you know what happens? That's the ultimate accountability. Because when people, even the realtors that are in that group, show up to these meetings once a month, and by the way, they come with their presentation to hand out to everybody, man, it steps up their game because they want to show up every month with something to talk about. It's kind of the ultimate accountability is not even just the one-on-one coach thing. It's actually coach and peers. Ooh, it's an interesting experience.
Good stuff. I want to recap. Set the goals, be accountable, execute, and where can everybody go to learn more about what you do?
Okay, so if you want to learn more about what we do, I probably recommend directly go to Rosalind Andrews. Rosalind is kind of runs all things mastery consulting related, handles the calendar, can explain anything we do. Rosalind's direct cell phone number is area code 909-743-1866. She's already getting nervous now thinking about this. And also, Facebook page is a great way to communicate with us, by the way. So just go on to you'll see one for David Halpern and a business page, David Halpern of Mastery Consulting. So any way you like to communicate with us.
Yeah, I love it. And if anybody has any questions, you can let our team know. I won't give out any of our team's cell phone. Roz, I feel sorry for you. But David, thank you so much for coming in. I've learned on this call. I'm sure a lot of others as well. We got some great comments as well. Appreciate it. Let's do this again soon.
Appreciate it.
Great, man.
Great to see your offices.
Goodbye, everybody. Oh, and here's the rest of the team. Just so everybody can see them.
All right, okay.